My name is Gary Kim. I'm a industry analyst, and I work extensively with PTC, who is sponsoring today's webcast. And I believe we'll be having a few more conversations. So today's discussion is generally centered around artificial intelligence and its impact on the data center business. I'm assuming we'll also get into some discussions of what we believe this will mean for our customers. But our three invited guests today include Sanjay Bhutani, who's the joint president of AdaniConneX, Philip Marangarella, who's the CMO of EdgeConneX, and Gautam Nanajyothi, who's a Frost & Sullivan Global VP, a guy who actually gets paid to study things of the sort that we're going to discuss. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll have a very productive and interesting discussion. I was thinking maybe we'd start off with a very broad look at the possible implications of artificial intelligence in all of its various forms on data center demand and capacity. So, gentlemen, I'll let each of you present your views on that first.
Gary, thanks for the introduction. EdgeConneX has been building out. We have a global data center platform of roughly 80 data centers around the world. We typically have supported content, cloud, and obviously AI now has become front and center for us in terms of our customers and the deployments that we're looking to support. With cloud still kind of in the kind of mainstream demand element and building out around the world, that has kept providers like ourselves and as well as Sanjay with AdaniConneX very busy and active in terms of building out capacity. AI has just kind of rapidly come to the forefront and has created a tremendous additional demand for us to kind of build out capacity. Not only is the need to build out new capacity and oftentimes new markets, but it's also a very different capacity given the density requirements that are related to AI. So it's a different design. It's essentially a different data center that can handle 50 to 100 or more kilowatts per rack. And so, I think for all of us, we're already seeing a lot of these deployments coming into our facilities, but really now it's starting to build out around the world of bringing on new capacity and greater volumes and greater densities. And I think, at the minimum, it's going to at least double the kind of amount of gigawatts that it's going to require for third-party providers like ourselves to kind of build out, certainly in the short term, as a lot of these large language models, these training models are kind of being built out.
So, Gary, thanks for having me in this very interesting panel. And of course, artificial intelligence is something all of us are talking about it. So, as Philip rightly said, it has actually multiplied our growth rate. So, coming to specific in terms of a gigawatt, globally, if you look at the data center capacity, is about 54 gigawatt in 2023. And it is estimated it is going to grow about 90 odd gigawatt. And surge in demand for AI is something which is picking up data center demand so rapidly, and the workloads are currently out of this 54 gigawatt is approximately only 8%, which is about 4.2 or 4.3%, 4.3 gigawatt. And this, with the growth going to 90 gigawatt, it will touch about 17 to 20 gigawatt. So acceleration happening at 26 to 35% CAGR, which is very important. And the kind of impact which is going to be because of AI, ultimately energy security becomes a key, which is a primary agenda of AdaniConneX, between Adani and EdgeConneX. And from the day one we did our partnership, we've been telling our customers, partners, and across the globe, energy security is going to be a primary driver for such kind of immense growth. And of course, we have to have energy efficiency also while data center capacity is rapidly increasing. And last not the least, of course, renewable energy is going to play a key role. I'm sure the kind of growth what we are saying, ultimately energy topped up by green energy, renewable energy is going to play a key role.
You're a guy who gets paid to think about the implications of new technology. And I think there's what we've heard this morning is really about huge quantitative change. But as you well know, sometimes quantity turns into qualitative change. Is it too early to start thinking about the ways the business itself changes, the business models change, that sort of thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. First of all, thanks for inviting me, Gary. Great to be on this panel discussion. And you are actually right. I do get paid to learn about all these interesting stuff. So it's great. It's great to be an analyst at this point, to be in the data center industry. Now, again, just to your point, Gary, that we are definitely seeing a lot of shift in the industry, and especially pertaining to how AI is impacting in terms of the demand, in terms of business models, in terms of the overall investment around it. I mean, look, the impact of AI is being felt across all industries. We are seeing AI measures being implemented in supply chain, transportation, education, healthcare. So it's all over. Pretty much every industry that's going through digital transformation has an AI impact. And over the past 12 to 18 months, the data center market linked to AI has actually witnessed a substantial growth. It's not a secret. And the interesting thing is we are seeing a diverse range of industry players, right from your major hyperscalers to your large co-location providers, to even small, mid-sized, co-location providers, even enterprise class data centers, all concentrating their efforts on AI and its implications for sort of facility design and market positioning. So to put things into context, pertaining to the data center demand, I know Sanjay talked about the capacity implication in terms of the gigawatts, and in terms of the of AI, and what's driving this demand. So we recently did some analysis on the sort of overall investment trends to see how much capex went into data center facilities, and also did a forecast to show how it's expected to grow over the next few years. It's quite interesting. I mean, in 2023, if we look at the overall investment that went into or is expected to, go into data centers, it's about $300 billion US. And down the line, 10 years, if you look at the growth rate, by 2023, we're expecting it to get to 775 billion, which is humongous for a year. And if you look at the growth rate, it's expected to grow at a CAGR of almost 10%, quite a high, CAGR for such a big market. Now, when we look at this, CAGR and see what are the drivers, obviously there's, the primary driver is still going to be the high growth and adoption of cloud instead of increasing hyperscale demand. But AI definitely is fast evolving as a complementary driver with sort of a mid-level impact in the short term. But in terms of, as the AI applications mature over time, I think the level of impact will certainly get bigger. And I say that AI is a complementary driver because cloud adoption and demand will still continue to be the primary driver, especially in the short term. Now, looking back at the sort of 2023, the investment estimates, the $300 billion. So this is the yearly data center investment that goes into building these facilities. The vast majority will still goes towards the new builds, but a small portion of that will go to retrofits as well. So essentially, the 300 billion is a sum of investment, from the three segments: hyperscale, co-location, and enterprise. And as you can imagine, a big chunk of this is hyperscale investment. It's quite actually interesting to look at the hyperscale investment, as it's quite a consolidated market, and the top 8 hyperscalers actually, the investment by the top 8 hyperscalers added up to 110 billion out of the 300, which is, 1/3 of the investment. Now it's hard to, put an exact number on what percentage of that investment was towards AI, but it's safe to say, it's definitely a considerable amount that went into AI initiatives. I would say somewhere in the higher single digit percentages, which is still quite big, in the overall scheme of things. While this is the scenario for 2023, I think the question is, will the share of AI investment get bigger in the next, 2 to 3 years? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. It will definitely get bigger, but how quickly will it get to a stage where AI investment, dominates their overall investment? Well, I think that depends on the scale and pace of the, evolution of the mainstream, AI applications. Now, I think, just real quick in terms of when we drill down a little bit in terms of the investment numbers, in terms of key impact areas by AI, I think we can sort of segment it in terms of the investment into three key areas. We've got the IT infrastructure, physical infrastructure, and which is essentially electrical and mechanical. And you have the other infrastructure, which is your sort of land and building and shell and things like that. In terms of the biggest impact areas we're seeing, would be on the IT, infrastructure side of things, with the deployment of obviously GPUs, the associated storage elements, use of InfiniBand networks, and all that. And when you look at the impact on physical infrastructure, there's actually two sides to the coin there. In terms of there's going to be a tremendous impact on the mechanical infrastructure in terms of deploying advanced cooling technologies, obviously to deal with the massive heat that's generated. Liquid cooling, liquid immersion cooling technologies and things like that. So we see a lot of investment, towards these new technologies. But when you look at the electrical infrastructure, it's a different story, because we might even, again, with the impact of AI, we might even see, reduced investment levels. I say this because you don't need the same redundancy levels for AI applications. Mainly if it's training models, you don't need to have the highest level of redundancies for UPSs, for gensets. You no longer need 5 nines. So potentially you could see reduced investments, from an electrical infrastructure perspective. And it's a pretty similar situation on the sort of other infrastructure, which is your land and building, because we could potentially see reduced investment levels pertaining to, mainly driven by the choice of location, in terms of a lot of these AI-based data centers can be deployed, in the secondary, even in the tertiary markets where, land is relatively cheap, you have better power availability. So there's I think there's quite a lot of impact areas when you talk about AI and the evolution. I think we can down the line when we discuss, we can break it down further into different elements. Gary.
Well, for guys like Sanjay and Phil, when they're hearing numbers growing as big as you've been suggesting, one of the things they're thinking about is, wow, if we have that many more cycles and that many more servers cooking, we're going to generate an awful lot more heat. And the cause of that heat, of course, is all the electricity that's being consumed. What do you guys think about ways to mitigate some of that heat and mitigate some of the electrical power consumption? I mean, it's interesting that we always describe data center capacity in terms of its electrical draw, not in terms of its CPU cycle capability.
Yeah, well, I'll start, and I'll just begin by continuing a point Gautam was making around kind of some of the locations where these go, right? Because your calculus is a bit different given the size and scale of the power that you're needing to kind of cool the GPUs and so forth, right? And so you're going to go where power is cheap. You're going to go where land is cheap. It's not so much latency sensitive, right? So it doesn't have to be in a metropolis. Oftentimes, because we're talking about the hyperscalers, it's going to be adjacent to where they might already have an availability zone and so forth. And so these are going to be the markets that are going to probably, and certainly for the training modules, will go, right? Inference, obviously more latency sensitive. That will be much more distributed. That's going to, you're starting early days on that, but that will be more towards the edge. But again, you're also going to look at tax incentives, because it's a huge cost that a lot of these providers are spending on this gear and infrastructure. And so if they can get tax breaks on that, that will also influence kind of where they go ahead and deploy. But then when you talk about, to your specific question, Gary, around the heat, right? So this is what I was alluding to in my first question around a new design, right? Because this is where, for 20, 30 years, we've just been blowing cold air on servers, right? And it takes a different model, right? And this is where liquid and water and immersion starting to come to play to be able to efficiently and effectively cool the high power and the high temperatures that are being created by AI. And also the benefit of it is water is a far more efficient way to kind of cool things, right? So again, when you think about the sustainability aspect, this is actually a far more effective and efficient way to be able to cool a data center facility. And at the same time, because it's dense, inherent in that density, you're using less space. Things are packed in, and so you're not necessarily having to build at the absolute massive scale as you did before. So there's all these kind of variables in terms of what goes into kind of designing and building and locating these data centers to support AI and these high performance compute deployments that I think we're all looking at, right? Because again, cloud has sucked up all pretty much the available capacity. There isn't necessarily a lot that is off the shelf available. So a lot of what's going on is kind of new builds, build to suit, what I like to call build to density, data centers of the future to support these things. Again, because historically power densities has been very gradual uptake, right? Single digits, if at all, over the years. And so when you build a data center, it could withstand for a long period of time. Now we have to be very flexible to support the scale that's coming, right? We just went from the H100, NVIDIA H100. Now we're at the GH200. And quickly, we're going to get surpassing 100 kilowatts per rack, right? The H100's at 46 kW per rack in terms of their standard superpart architecture. And then you're going to rapidly double, triple, and so forth. You're going to be in triple digits in terms of the density of these racks. So you have to be very flexible to support that going forward in the future. And that's, again, when you have a liquid-based solution, you can bring in different technologies, whether it's fan wall or rear door heat exchanger and all that kind of stuff to be able to handle the those power and the heat requirements that you were asking about, Gary.
Yeah. So Sanjay, what does this general set of issues translate down to from your perspective?
So cooling has been a key element of data center for compute. So we see it very differently. If you look at the current setup of compute and compute, which is cloud is using it, the most efficient can be 70% or 75% at max. So 25% cooling is going waste and it is actually sucking energy. So with the AI coming in, I see a lot of data rack and IT equipments can be more efficient. The management of these equipments. So clearly AI can intelligently tell us how do we make sure the 70 becomes 99. So I see the current compute in the cloud is going to benefit from the AI, which is very, very important. And so that the current setup also with the AI coming in gets efficient. I completely agree with Philip, because design flexibility in infrastructure is very important. We have to be future ready. Today we have got cloud. Tomorrow AI is coming up, but AI is the way AI is going. So as Philip said, NVIDIA A100 is about 25-26 kilowatt. Vis-a-vis GH200 is going up to 100 kilowatt per rack. So air cool may not be sustainable. Having said that, we have to have such kind of flexible model wherein traditional and future demand of AI workload both are taken care in a similar environment. Of course, the first one which I started with, how do we make sure that 30% energy and a consumption which is going waste today, and AI makes it better efficient.
I think, yeah. I mean, it's really interesting points, Sanjay and Philip, and I absolutely agree with what you guys said. And in terms of when we're looking at it from a impact of AI on sort of the design and the cooling perspective, there's two really important aspects, like Sanjay and Philip said, right? In terms of the power, the densities that are increasing, and what kind of innovative cooling solutions we can look at from a design perspective. I think we can expect to see, or we're already seeing, disruption sort of in the design aspect from three dimensions or three perspectives. The first one, again, will be the adoption of new technology pertaining to the heat rejection and the cooling domain. And there's quite a lot of options there in terms of there are different options to get to the same place, if I can say that. And different data centers will choose different options based on their individual scenarios. And also potentially based on their location, possibly the degree to which they want to roll out AI. Is it a mixed environment? Is it a hybrid? Is it a dedicated environment? And I think that's one area that's really interesting, in terms of the trends, because there's a lot of debate about how you can go about these different technologies. And as Philip mentioned, there's, in terms of the advanced cooling technologies, more specifically, liquid cooling, we are seeing, direct to chip, radial heat exchangers, liquid immersion cooling, and then you've got the single phase and two phase within that. But overall, as a cooling market as such, we are seeing quite high traction in the liquid cooling market. It's not a new concept. We've had liquid cooling for ages, but again, with the traction, it's gaining significant traction in the past few years. And especially, I mean, the cooling market is I would say approximately 9.5-10 billion US dollars. And as of now, these new technologies, liquid cooling technologies, form a small part of the market, maybe 5 or 6%, but it's growing tremendously quickly, and the AI wave is going to, increase the impact, further significantly. And in terms of, when you look at the cooling providers, it's an interesting thing, because if you look at the tier one, the top cooling vendors, be the Vertivs or the Schneiders or the Stulz, they're all getting into liquid cooling now. They're either, working on their R&D and developing their own cooling solutions, or they're partnering with or acquiring specialist cooling companies, who specialize in, your isotopes and cool IT, and there's quite a few of these, specialist companies. The second thing is around, when we talk about the design, I would say, is on the reliability model. And again, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of discussion in terms of, how and when will these, AI workloads mature, and what sort of reliability, do they need? Do they, will they be your tier 3 or tier 4? What kind of reliability do they need? The training engines, do they need something to the inference engines or inference models? And the generative needs something different to machine learning. So operators are still trying to, I would say, figure out from a design perspective, how can they make decisions instead of the design phase that doesn't lock them in or lock them out of change down the line. And the third perspective, or the third aspect, I would say, is around modeling. We're seeing a lot of attraction and interest around our uptake with the digital twin, or the BIM, the building information modeling. Again, with AI in terms of model creation, model updating, generative modeling, data analytics and predictive analytics. So with the the digital twins and the computational fluid dynamics, you're really understanding and actually leveraging AI to build a design that can actually accommodate what they're trying to achieve for their customers. Again, I mean, if you look at the average rack densities, data centers are gradually leading up to 10 kilowatt, and then all of a sudden, the 12 to 18 months, we're looking at, like Philip said, 60 kilowatt, 80, even 100 kilowatt per rack. So I think, these designs that have implications and the infrastructure elements, are more crucial than ever, I would say. Gary.
Sorry, Gary, question. I just want to follow up on that, because Gautam, a point I think is important, that I think is implied in what you're saying, and something we are certainly seeing and hearing really from customers and so forth, comes down to standards, right? AI has just kind of blown up so quickly and so forth, and everybody has their view and perspective, and standards haven't really caught up, right? Because it's to everyone's advantage to have kind of a set standard design, because you don't want to design something for someone and it doesn't suit for somebody else, and it becomes really inefficient. And so, certainly the hyperscalers are trying to also be open about it, and to try to drive certain standards, because that will benefit everybody. Because right now it's this fever pitch to build and to bring on capacity, and that might serve one customer, but it doesn't serve everybody else. And these are big bets that we are making as service providers. You're betting hundreds of millions of dollars on a certain data center, and if that design only suits one but doesn't suit the other, and that's a big risk that you have to take. So that's what I think you're going to see. The desire by the industry is to have certain standards around future designs as well.
And it's a bit of time for us to get there. No, Philip?
Yeah, and again, I was more of a question to you, Gautam, if you're seeing that, hearing that, and kind of your perspective as well.
Yeah,
as
no,
a
no,
new.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of, again, this approach of, again, like you said earlier, air cooling is not going to go away, and you're seeing innovations within air cooling as well. Supporting up to 40, kilowatts per rack. But again, the key aspect is trying to figure out, because what we're seeing is seeing even small to mid-sized or mid-sized co-location providers in a sort of wait and watch mode in terms of what kind of capacity they want to deploy and in what kind of cooling they want to deploy. We're seeing cooling providers coming up with combination of high air plus liquid cooling solutions to support these deployments. So it is. I would say the jury's still out on that, Philip. But it's an interesting take. But again, is certainly is going to increase for sure. But in terms of standardizing, it's a tricky aspect because like I said, my question was to myself was how long before everyone knows exactly what they need to deploy. So again, it's like I said, it is coming, but it'd be great to see that come quickly. But yeah, it's hard to comment on. Wish I had a crystal ball for that, Philip.
In terms of architecture and sort of the smart guys in our industry are always going to come up with a marketing spin, which takes advantage of something that, in truth, everyone is doing. For example, this sort of high performance computing moniker and sort of AI data center moniker, which some people may try to claim. 20 years down the road, are not all general purpose cloud data centers going to be, in fact, high performance fabrics capable of supporting AI, and then literally all of the rest of the things people normally ask for today? I mean, isn't that going to be the standard? And I guess, do we see people trying to create a marketing platform around that quickly? I mean, AdaniConneX, Edge, right? That sort of thing.
I guess that would be directed to me, both as the marketing guy and at AdaniConneX, right? Look, the heritage of the company, given the name, was we filled the void in terms of data center capacity, right? And I'm on this call today from Ashburn, Virginia. Certainly not the edge; it's the core of the cores, right? But there was a need to bring content closer to the eyeballs and where they're consuming it, right? Similarly, the second phase was to bring the cloud closer to the enterprises and where they're consuming it. Right now, we're talking about AI. We're in the kind of core phase, but as I mentioned, the inferencing will kind of also be distributed. It's not either or. It's going to be both in how they interoperate to efficiently deliver the data to where it's consumed and vice versa, right? And it's, if you think about holistically digital infrastructure where you start to weave in the networks as well, it creates this fabric of interconnected data and how we kind of efficiently deliver, consume, and analyze the data and so forth. We're certainly heading towards that yottabyte era, and I think we're gonna get there sooner than we think, because no longer now there's value more than ever in terms of keeping the data, analyzing the data, and so forth. And so I don't know if it's marketecture, but I do think it's more of a trying to build out this is like the critical infrastructure, right? That's going to enable all these use cases and business cases and so forth, right? And so I often kind of get asked these questions around the data centers, and I go back to we were coming out of the pandemic. Again, if it wasn't for data centers, we wouldn't have been able to continue working, and our kids wouldn't have been able to continue to go to school. We wouldn't have been able to kind of stream Netflix and be able to kind of chill out in the evening, or even work out on our Pelotons or whatever it may be. And so that's the critical role that data centers have, right? It's in of themselves, they're not that sexy. It's just for walls of a massive building with lots of power and so forth, but what's inside them are so critical to the digital economies of the world. And so these things will continue to kind of get built out in different forms and different locations and so forth. But they're becoming more and more essential every day as things like, AI come. And then, metaverse, although that was also a big hype, I think the metaverse needs the AI first for it to truly become to its full potential and so forth. So it's just, once again, more and more data. And obviously inherent in that name, data centers are going to be critical to enabling all these kind of use cases going forward.
Yeah, as you guys are out there talking to people, my guess is, at least what I'm hearing, is everybody's sort of studying, prototyping, testing, trying to figure out how do we use generative AI, how do we use machine learning, trying to propagate it across virtually every bit of software that they've got. To me, it feels a little bit like the internet in 1995, for those of you who were alive then. People talk about leaders and laggards, and to me, I'm thinking back to 1995, and I'm not worried about who's a leader, so-called, or who's a laggard, because the leaders in 1995 didn't necessarily end up being the leaders in 2010. So, given that we're sort of in this period of froth and experimentation, are there any trends that we can sort of talk about that seem grounded in reality, other than throw it on the wall and see if it sticks, right? Which is, truth be told, that's probably where we are. But, is anybody finding some sort of secret sauce, some killer application or some killer use case that is going to catch on really fast?
So I'll go on this. So Gary, I'll tell you an interesting story, because you said 1995. I recollect in 1900, refrigerator was invented in Silicon Valley. Yeah. And when the refrigerator was invented, everybody thought the guy who invented refrigerator, he'll become super rich. But story happened reverse. The cold drink company became super rich because of using refrigerator. So likewise, I think clearly AI is the game changer for a data center, for all of us. Our lifestyle is going to change. Whole ecosystem is going to change. The basic question here is, the business and the use case have to evolve faster than what we assume today, so that monetization of AI becomes much faster. So for us, like, AI is beyond LLMs. What do we expect from AI? Cost efficiency is required, faster decision making required, quality of services are better, and products have to be better. Task automation has to be better. Reduction in lifetime has to be much better. So I think meaningful data is going to play a key role, and well-informed choices, what we take in AI, is going to play a key role. And last but not the least, I think clearly AI, when you look at AI, is of course evolving during the time. Responsible AI is going to play a key role.
I'll just add too, because I am old, and I lived through the .com boom and bust, and I was in Silicon Valley, and I even worked for Nortel, so I witnessed both ends of that, right? And look, I think, there's a huge hype and buzz around AI, and rightfully so, because I don't think there's a vertical segment that won't be impacted by the benefits of AI and the improved productivity that could come from that, number one. However, I do temper it, right? Because when you have this hype cycle, there's this money that's flowing in and all these kind of business models coming out and so forth. Let's not forget, it costs billions of dollars to buy the chips, to build the platforms, and to buy data center capacity and all that kind of stuff. Looking at the business models, right? What business models will get the return on the investment to justify and have longevity and so forth? You will still see the hyperscalers serve as those full stack, right? They're providing, if you think about it from a cloud perspective, not only the infrastructure as a service, the platform as a service, as well as the software as a service, right? So they have a distinct advantage. However, there's new entrants, right? There's the CoreWeaves and the Lambdas and the Anthropics and so forth that are also getting investment, funny enough, from the hyperscalers as well. So I do think, though, is really looking at those business models where you can justify the tremendous cost that it takes to build out and see a return. Again, some of the great, when I talk about the different verticals, healthcare, right, financial, there's some obvious ones where you have a ton of structured data that you can use and analyze and get some great results out. It seems obvious and so forth. But there'll certainly be winners and losers. There'll be some new providers that come out. Look, even NVIDIA itself is now, challenging the oligopoly of the big three in terms of, a trillionaire type of company. So it's certainly, I do think the big guys will continue to play a prominent role to enable AI, but there's certainly going to be some new players, unicorns, if you will, that are going to be successful and some that won't.
Yeah, and then just to quickly, thanks for really interesting points there. Now, just to quickly add to that, I think, Gary, to your point about, in terms of the ground reality, AI is certainly here. And when we sort of look back 12 to 18 months, that's when ChatGPT came out, right? And people sort of were exploring it, people are playing around with it, but it's evolved into something much more now. I mean, not just ChatGPT, but again, when you look at some of these other, upcoming applications, I mean, Philip mentioned healthcare, automotive, there's, mobility, telecom. So we're seeing quite a lot of, activities around these applications. And now in terms of when these will mature and when we'll start seeing, mainstream adoption, I would say it's not too far away, right? Because the pace at which this is evolving, it's just tremendous. It's mind-boggling. I mean, I would agree when they say this is the next big thing since the internet. I would say this is even bigger, right? And in terms of, again, you raised a point about will all hyperscale computing load be high performance computing? I don't know, maybe in 5-10 years. I really doubt that, Gary, because the demand for cloud will still continue to be there. It will still continue to drive the overall data center market. But this is, again, going to be on top of like an add-on. It will still grow much bigger. If it's 5-10% today, it will grow up to maybe 20-30%. But it's hard to fathom AI taking over 70-80% of the overall computing even in the next 10 years. It's quite hard to fathom that.
Mm-hmm. That's all of your comments are very germane, because obviously monetization is another word that everybody I talk to is worried about that. And of course, when you think about it, actually the guys who are in the best position in terms of monetization are all the digital infrastructure guys. You just take what you're currently doing and you're going to sell more. I mean, it's just an absolute no-brainer. Now, if I'm somebody who's got a software as a service application that's used by certain types of enterprises for certain kind of industrial applications, I might have to think a little bit harder about it, but still, it's going to be a feature. AI is going to be a feature of the basic product that I'm selling, and that I think is going to be universally true for everybody. But if you're in the server business or the advanced chip business or the data center business, hell, it's got to be absolutely all upside, except for the fact that you got to spend money to get there, right?
and get the power you need.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So, flipping the question on its head, I'm one of these people who thinks the AI thing is at least as big as the internet, and Gautam says it might be bigger. That's also possible. Which means it's huge. It's this earth-shattering, life-changing thing that's going to touch everyone and everyone's business. Are there any downsides to this that people are mentioning aside from incorrect, hallucinogenic responses to ChatGPT queries, that sort of thing? Obviously, the governments are all looking at equity and privacy and that sort of thing. But what are the things we need to worry about with AI, aside from standardization, for example?
Well, I think you bring up regulatory. You're certainly look. Everybody's trying to figure this out, right? And including governments and industry bodies and so forth. And so Europe was kind of the first to kind of lean in, and then followed by the U.S. Where is AI going, right? And you see a lot of the kind of the concern about how some of the doomsday stories around AI. That's to be determined. But I think right now everybody is building out their platforms, and they're learning as they go, in many respects. This has come about as Gautam said, with ChatGPT so recently. And adoption, I think there was a stat that was showing, relative to other, big things like whether it's Netflix or, Yahoo or whatever, reaching 1 million subscribers in only 5 days versus months or years, right? So there's so much to be determined, and it's kind of this I don't know if arms race is the right word, or that's probably a bad connotation right now, but everybody's trying to build out as fast as they can, and trying to be that first to market and get both mind share, wallet share, and just market share, right? And so there's going to be some, obviously, in that rush to build, there'll be mistakes made, right, by everybody in that kind of that ecosystem, if you will, and people will learn from it. You'll learn from the losers, and you learn from the winners, and so forth. I think that's just the natural process, and a lot of the technology innovation and so forth.
And I think, in terms of... Sorry, Sanjay, go on. Go ahead.
So I was saying, in terms of, I think AI, clearly it is going to consume a lot of energy. All of us are bound by a commitment of more sustainable. Clearly, we have to find out a reason, how can we make sure we are better efficient in terms of using energy. Clearly, if you look at the telecom era, there were days every cell and site was air conditioned. And now you see every infrastructure on road. And with the air cooling today, you still can use cooling from outside. Likewise, when the liquid cooling is coming, the other cooling areas are coming, how do we make sure we are using less energy for AI? I think we need to have a better answer in coming years and coming days, so that while energy is going to be key, and that is energy security is going to be key, energy efficiency is going to be key, how do we make sure we use less and less energy for a better efficiency for AI? So I think that is also going to play a key role globally. Apart from, of course, business reason, what Philip said, are going to play a key driver. Whosoever is coming first in a mad rush of who teaches first in implementing AI, of course, that's important. But sustainability is also going to play a key role in this game.
Yeah, and I think that's very interesting. And just to sort of add a quick perspective to that, obviously, the power usage, that's certainly one of the things, challenges, downside, if you want to call it. And that, again, goes back, because, these, power hungry, chipsets, it's going to take up 2 to 3 times more power than your traditional data centers, right? And that's not going to stop, it's going to increase. But again, you sort of have to consider the fact, or the possibility of the chip designs getting more effective. What's NVIDIA going to do? What's Intel going to do? Are they going to make it more efficient? Innovations R&D around that. But again, it circles back to the sustainability impact of, PUE is still a great metric, a very important metric, but we're starting to see a move towards aspects such as WUE, water usage effectiveness, and sustainability. It's not just pertaining to energy usage, energy efficiency. We're seeing a lot of traction around recycling, circular economy. It's right throughout the life cycle, off the whole system. And I think in terms of going back to sort of the deployment or the AI models, and not really a downside, but again, one of the challenges, again, as Philip mentioned, is just pertaining to the regulations, and the AI model, the language models, the deployment question, it's going to be as complicated, as serving cloud or deploying cloud in any region today, because we have to comply with the privacy, data sovereignty requirements. in the countries the operators are operating in, and it won't be a different one for an AI model. I mean, not just countries, but even end users are increasingly, companies are being concerned about the privacy and sovereignty and protecting data, and having it subject to the laws of the country in which the business is based on, and end users are more and more talking about how they're concerned that their data might be sucked into the public AI universe, and so many of the intellectual property concerns that they have are quite legitimate, and they don't want that data to form a global basis for the training a language model. So yeah, not a really call it a downside, call it a challenge, but yeah, these I would say it's quite critical to address these things.
Most of this morning we've been talking about AI as something that's going to be advantageous for data center customers and their customers. We've been talking a little bit about PUE and some of the challenges of recasting and adding AI capabilities to any data center operation. But data centers are going to benefit from AI as well, just like any other enterprise could benefit from using AI. Looking at operations, what are some of the ways that we can envision AI actually improving operational efficiency, for example?
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting topic. One of my personal favorites, actually. I mean, I think AI is already changing the way we look at data center operations, and we're not too far away from seeing mainstream data centers think and act for themselves, getting smarter every day, based on what it's learned, and so when we look at how exactly could it or would it improve data center operations. First, it could improve the efficiency of the critical infrastructure. Machine learning, driven intelligence, offering condition-based, maintenance for critical power infrastructure, ultimately sort of enhancing the efficiencies, reducing costs. We have very interesting, applications or use cases, such as we've got power optimization, cooling optimization already. We are seeing a lot of these deployed. If you take cooling, for instance, leveraging AI, can optimize cooling efficiencies by, it actually helps monitor, analyze, further optimize, data centers' energy supply needs, energy supply needed for its cooling system, meaning applying the right amount of cooling, when and where it's needed, among the racks. It sort of allows or enables the data center operators to predict heat loads quickly, responding to demand and eliminating even the need for on-site staff to manage cooling, which potentially leads to operational cost savings. Again, leveraging AI for more efficient cooling will definitely sort of see reduction in the amount of energy they spend on cooling, cuts down not only in the energy bills you add to your sort of sustainability and carbon reduction initiatives. The other aspects we could talk about is potentially AI helping detecting and eliminating outages, improved outage monitoring, advanced predictive analytics, makes it easier and more reliable to monitor power levels, cooling levels, any other potential trouble areas, for instance, could help with improving the security, constant, security lookout 24/7 without human intervention. The other interesting one is optimize server optimization, so predictive analytics from AI to sort of assist data centers to distribute workload more efficiently, which potentially reduces the strain on the machines and helps the overall data center work more efficiently. It makes it even more important in the current scenario because data center operators will need to optimize server efficiencies and better predict future server needs with great level of accuracy and in order to basically handle these high density loads better. So there's quite a lot of things that we're seeing already being implemented, and based on what we're seeing, this is going to further increase down the line as well.
I would assume that actually even data centers always have to get built, which means there's always site acquisition and construction. Are there ways that AI can actually even help improve safety, for example, in the construction phase of a data center. I mean, people wear hard hats for a reason.
Yeah, of course. So we at AdaniConneX, we always follow the global standard on safety. Having said that, we have implemented AI safety analytics tool way back. When we started talking about AI from last 6-8 quarters, long back we actually implemented. Let me tell you what we did there. So what we have done is we have trained 8 key hazards and 300 scenarios, which comes a custom neutral network model for data center construction site, what we have it here. And it monitors real-time activities, identifying key areas of concerns. It also simulates real-life site operations. So what is happening is hot work at a site, work at a height, look out, tag out. LOTO is also material handling, excavation, and many other areas which can be a high risk. So we are able to monitor it. And of course, this helps us to be better efficient and make sure all the guys are 100% safe. So completely redefining the conventional safety way. And we are establishing new benchmarks for a safety excellence, because that's very important. Ultimately, human safety is the key parameter. And with the use of AI, we are able to many customers are replicating these good practices of AI safety model, what we have, and this is getting replicated all over. So yeah, AI is, of course, one is construction, another is operations. And to your earlier question, I think predictive maintenance, energy consumption, forecasting, these are the two, and dynamic cooling optimization from a perspective, while we need better operations. They are the three key pillars what I see are important even from an operations side.
Gentlemen, we have unfortunately just about run out of time for this session. The good news is we've got a couple more sessions coming on other topics related to data centers. I do thank you for your profound insights and your expertise and for sharing them with our audience. And thank you on behalf of PTC for joining us today.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Behind every world-changing idea and life-changing dream, there is a wealth of data that shapes its evolution into reality. Data is at the root of understanding your world. All this data needs to be nurtured and nourished in a trusted data center ecosystem that is safe, secure, and sustainable for both you and the planet, and that leverages big data and advanced learning model to automate operations and help your business grow without boundaries while being at your fingertips. Building on the global experience of 50+ hyperscale and hyperlocal data centers, AdaniConneX is now set to transform India into a global digital hub with an integrated 1 gigawatt sustainable data center platform powered with up to 100% renewable energy and coupled with a robust network of submarine and terrestrial cables, committed to deliver 99.999% availability year after year, enabling you to scale with confidence. At AdaniConneX, your growth is our priority.